Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. All right. So, I saw footage of the Washington Wizards shareholders meeting, just a little clip of Kyle Kuzma getting booed by a heckler or a fan. Someone's called themselves a fan. Dude said that more or less Kyle Kuzma's too arrogant. So he yelled up there, "You too arrogant, pal," or something like that. So I kind of just want to come here and just kind of sound off on my opinion about how disrespect probably should be handled, or how I respond to it. Look, if you're a fan and you go to see these games, you've paid your hard-earned money to see these games. Especially if you're a season ticket holder, you hold a certain level of importance within the eyes of the organization. But as we've seen in different places, such as Utah, where fans have said certain things to players and got banned, or things of that nature, the NBA has to do a good job. I'm not going to say better or worse because I'm not aware of the job that they're doing. So I'm not going to sit here and say better, not certain. But they must do a good job of protecting the players from these fans who happen to come there with the intention of spreading bad energy and making them feel as if they're in a toxic working environment. And that's what that was for Kyle Kuzma in that situation. Now, granted, he's not a sensitive kid like that. He ain't gonna sit up here and say, "Oh my God, let me cry about it," and then like that's not what I'm here to say. He doesn't need my defense. But what I'm saying to you is, it gets to a point where we start having conversations about mental health. Start looking at what's going on around the league with some of these players who want to get away from these toxic situations, desperately want to get away from pressure situations. You see Ben Simmons' situation. You think about Philadelphia and the history they have as fans booing people and stuff like that, their identity as fans over there particularly. Fans have to understand that, yes, we can go and express ourselves in all of this, but we're one person expressing ourselves to one person who has millions of people expressing themselves to them in whatever way they do. They're not just taking whatever energy you're placing upon them. They're taking the entire field, the fan base, everything that they subject themselves to that mentions their name, they're taking in. And a lot of us who dish it out have no idea what that feels like. And if we were on the other's foot and we had some decency about ourselves, I think we would understand why it's important to kind of think some of that through before we open our mouths in situations like that. You could really do damage. Now, a lot of people go outside and they look to kind of make themselves feel better for various reasons. Some may decide that what makes me feel better is pointing out somebody else's mistakes, is pointing out somebody else's flaws, and that allows me to get through my day. Certified hater. Some people, that's how they cope with their lives. I don't look. Mental health is a real thing. That's a thing. I don't know what to say about it other than it exists. What entities in place and professionals need to do when they're dealing with these people and taking those particular people's money is to make sure they don't have too much power to be able to display this type of energy to ruin the product that you have on the field, the floor, ruin the minds of the players, ultimately bring them more than they should be taking back in criticism. Criticism is necessary, but once a person starts digging into your character, coming to places where you're at, spewing what they got to say to your face, and you're expected to sit there and embrace it or expected to keep calm because of the position that you hold, that is unfair. And it's not, I would have said I think it's unfair, but I don't think that's strong enough to say. It's unfair. Kyle Kuzma plays basketball. He ain't go there to listen to some random stranger tell him about himself. Didn't do that. Regardless if that stranger was accurate in his assessment of Kyle Kuzma's character, being that this person I'm sure has never met Kyle Kuzma, I'm sure he's not accurate in this man's assessment of his character. Now, mind you, this is coming from somebody who totally gets up here and assesses people's character. It totally gets up here and speaks on people and things of this nature. So I'm not sitting here saying I'm anything less of a hypocrite if I'm to absolve myself from what it is that we're talking about, because I definitely do this. But I do it with a certain level of consideration in mind. And once I fail to do so, I don't feel good about that. If I put myself in a position to have said something I don't like, don't sit well with me when I'm aware of it. You know, when it's made aware to me that I've said something that was inaccurate, Hey, it happens a lot. I don't like it. I want to fix that. But I think a lot of people who come out here who do things like what Kyle Kuzma was experienced with that person, they don't look to correct that. They're not looking to make that right. They're looking to continue that behavior. And as long as organizations allow them to do it, they will continue to do it to other players who put on the uniform until it gets to a point where you regulate all of this. So I think we need to get, and I say we, I think the NBA needs to dig really into the mental health aspects of what the players are taking back. Kyrie Irving doesn't want to talk to the media. Ben Simmons wants to get out of a toxic environment. We've seen players want to get out of situations. It's a mental health environment that we're in. We're in the mental health awareness era. And I just think we need to start digging in the ways that we start triggering people and pushing buttons that we shouldn't and allowing others to push buttons that shouldn't be pressed, and how we can keep certain avalanche circumstances from even happening by nipping them in the bud and stopping certain toxic stuff from ever reaching the players. And I think it starts there. Philadelphia. No one is going to really say this, but it really does suck that you have the reputation for treating people poorly when they perform for you. Now, not everybody in the city's like that, and they're not the only city who has fans like that, but the idea that when you go there, you're going to have to take on pressure from the people that are supposed to support you if you don't play well, that is anxiety inducing. Ain't nobody want to put up with that, especially if they're not from where you're from. They don't have that mentality everywhere you go. Not everybody is as harsh to everybody everywhere you go. Southern hospitality, very different than that energy. This West Coast stuff we got with the sunshine, very different than that energy. When people go to your arenas and they go to your towns, they don't want to deal with your negative energy, fam. Let's just be real. And that's not limited to no city. That's everybody. I'm talking to my damn self. Nobody want to deal with your demons when they're sitting somewhere and or doing what it is that they professionally do or what have you. Ain't nobody trying to deal with your negativity. Leave that stuff at home. Or, because you don't have to do nothing. Or, you're going to hear stuff like this out of me, and you're going to continue to see more and more people get the hell out of Philly. Get the hell out of these toxic environments, because people ain't going to want to deal with your bullcrap, fam. I'm just being honest with you. Booing people, all that, if they've done something that deserve to be booed, hey, give them a boo. I've booed people before. But don't just treat people crappy because it's in your personality to treat people crappy. And you think that because it's okay where you're from that people treat people that way, that people going to come from out of town, perform for you, and put up with that. They're not. They're going to want to get out of there. They're going to want to get out of there, fam. And then nobody going to say that because it's the fans. See, that's the thing. Most of the voices that you're going to see have agendas and corporations behind them. They can't tell you real stuff. It's not in their best interest to come out and say stuff like this. Especially in the era we're coming out of where everybody got to stick their chest out and I'm a manliest man and my mental health is impeccable. Can't nobody touch me. I can take off scrutiny and handle it like, no, we're way past that. We understand that mental health don't work that way, that you can take on trauma whether you consciously understand that you're receiving it or not, and it can do damage. So we got to get to a point where we start analyzing the behaviors that we accept from the public just because they pay certain money to be able to have certain rights. I'm sorry, just because you pay your bottom dollar does not mean you have a right to go somewhere and trash the people you come to see. Belittle them, make them feel as if they're not doing their part just because you have an opinion. Nah, everybody has a right to their opinion, but sometimes just because you have a right don't mean you're right for expressing it. Sometimes you're wrong for expressing that right, and we need to start challenging people to do better. Not just in this area, but in other areas as well, but this one is the one we're talking about. If you're a fan, and a guy comes there, he's a little too arrogant, pal, keep that to yourself. At least until you see the guy in your uniform. At least until you actually know what he is about. Because I can tell you, I don't know Kyle Kuzma from a can of paint. But as a Laker fan, he wasn't arrogant. There's a lot of things that Kyle Kuzma was. I don't think arrogant was one of them. Did he have split focus? Yes. Did he find passion elsewhere outside of basketball? I believe so. Was he having a whole lot of fun playing with the Lakers? I didn't think he ever had a whole lot of fun playing with the Lakers. I don't think he's had a fun time with the Lakers since they traded Zoe. Traded all the kids. He got, Kyle Kuzma was a person just like I am, just like everybody else. And he don't need and this is an assumption, but I think it's a strong one. It's a safe one. The person who said that is older than Kyle. You can hear it in his voice. Kyle's in his mid-20s. That man is probably in his late 30s or 40s. Maybe even older than that. You really went up there to trash somebody younger than you for being arrogant? A 26-year-old for being arrogant? A lot of them are. I'm sure you are. You're a 38-year-old arrogant thinking that your opinion was warranted in that situation. Knowing that it was nothing constructive about it. Knowing that you were just being a jerk. You're not a fan, you're a heckler. I don't have a whole lot of respect for the behavior. I don't. I got a lot more respect for Kyle Kuzma and his struggles still going up there in that podium and having to listen to that stuff than I did for the person who said he did that. You're the one that looks worse than me, for whatever that's worth. So yeah, man, I just want to come on here and say that. This is not about specifics of what people will be upset about or the things that make a person boo, because I'm not getting into that. What you feel and your views and your opinions, that's a conversation that can be picked apart a million different ways and probably would be best with more people in the room. I don't know what makes a person boo. I don't know what makes a person want to call someone they don't know arrogant to their face. And that's another thing. And this is, I don't think the NBA can do anything about this. I think they got it right. It's just an imperfect situation. Of course you don't want another malice at the palace. Of course you don't want NBA players attacking fans for what comes out of their mouth. That is a no-no. That's not something I will ever condone. However, not everybody has the threshold to listen to everything that everyone has to say. And we need to take that into account when we open our mouths talking to people who may or may not be twice our size. Ridiculing them in ways that may not be very constructive. You may catch them on the wrong day, and maybe all those things that they usually worry about just go out the window. Maybe you just were the straw that broke the camel's back. You ever consider that? That one bad thing that you got to say that you're going to turn and laugh at your homie while you're holding your beer, that one thing can get you in a whole lot of trouble, a lot more trouble than you're ready for. Saying the wrong thing to the wrong person on the wrong day. I think it's worth saying. Not everybody is balanced of mind. Not everybody is at a place where they can just absorb what you got going on, whatever you have to put out. That might be responded in kind. Maybe they have even more extreme thoughts in response to that energy that you're putting out. You ready for it? A lot of us think we are until we get hit. Until the consequences come, and then it's like, oh, I don't think I was ready for that. No, you weren't. That dude's a lot bigger than you. Richer than you, too, in some cases. I don't know what that means. I don't care. All I'm saying is we need to be careful about how safe we feel when we open our mouths. How safe we feel when we go out scrutinizing people and bringing out bad energy and letting the evil and the demons in us attack them. Get a hold of those demons, buddy. Because all they're going to end up doing is getting you in the worst of things. That's all that's going to end up happening. So that's what I have to say about that, man. Fans, do well. Do well. I'm not going to say do better. Do well. Do good. Treat these people as they are supposed to be treated, as human beings, just like you would want to be treated in your professional environment. Telling a person they're arrogant, you're arrogant. How the hell is that supposed to make him feel? He's supposed to go home and then be humble because this great American has told me American? Now I'm going to go home and really reflect and be better, and hopefully next time he sees me, I'll give him a reason to love me? And the thing that bothers me is I think that's how people like that think sometimes. Like, I believe that. Could be wrong. But I think people like that think they make an impact on people by doing this. I think they think that a guy like Kyle is going to walk away and say, man, that guy really got on my case. Let me lace up some shoes and just do some things differently now. No. You put bad energy into Kyle Kuzma. Now the first thing he's going to think is the next person that looks like that is probably thinking the same thing he did. So I'm going to think a certain thing about that person before they even open their mouths. Now, Kyle's not going to actually do that, but what I'm saying is that's the copy and paste for the type of bad energy that comes your way. Now, that's how people normally respond to that. So what you've effectively done is taken all the people that look like you and put them in the same box you're in the eyes of that person. Yeah, you ruined it for all the rest of the guys like you, who may not actually be like you at all. Things that we all have to think about. As a black person, I got to think about that every day. Because when I walk out the house, I represent a certain representation that the world, the American world, the Western world, has upon African Americans. They believe we should be a certain way, and they believe we are a certain way. So when I walk out the house, I have both of those mentalities in mind. And I got to figure out how best to represent myself with those two ideas conflicting upon me every single day as an African American in this country. I don't know that every African American feels that way. I will never speak for a whole race of people. Especially when I know skin color has nothing to do with ethnic background and understanding. But what I will say is, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. So I understand that I can't just do and say everything and be any old kind of way, because I'm reflected upon others who may or may not look like me. I heard Shannon Sharp say something like that yesterday. I respect that. You know, we got to think about people who come after us. We got to think about the people who look like us, who are going to be coupled in with the things that we do in the eyes of people we're around. That needs to be considered, man. So that's what I got to say, man. If you want people to stop looking at you as a stereotype, and this is me, you, everybody else, then we must do things that go away from those stereotypes. And in this particular case, don't be that guy. Older, in a position, obviously because you have season tickets, and you're getting up there yelling at some young kid who just got to the team about some narrative. Now, see, that's another thing. A narrative that you believe about a person you do not know. I'm guilty of that. If you go through my videos, you've seen me engage in that. It's something I need to grow up from, just like everybody else. The narratives do not tell the story. Narratives are often created by people who have their own agendas. We know this. People who are negotiating with one another behind the scenes, they need this. So they're going to want this said, and they're going to put their dollar on places to get that said. You see what I'm saying? It's a lot of strategizing going on with the media. We can't believe the narratives all the time. And I think this guy may have believed the narrative. Kyle Kuzma's arrogant. Kyle Kuzma doesn't love ball. Kyle Kuzma. And then he takes what he heard and his arrogance and his confidence, and he goes up there and applies that stupidity or that false narrative or what have you, maybe it's true, to Kyle Kuzma, a person he does not know, who he didn't even see play last year, more than likely. Not up close. Not if he's a Wizards fan, season ticket holding Wizards fan. Nah, you didn't even see Kyle. You don't even know Kyle. He could be the most humble dude. It's the same thing we got in regards to Russell Westbrook. Because he's such an aggressive player, people think he's anything less than a great guy. Oh, he must be a tough guy to play with because, KD got it better. Oh, he's a tough guy. Every time I hear Russell Westbrook open his mouth, he's talking about somebody else and how he can help them. Every time. Even when they ask him questions about how he feels more comfortable saying what he can do for others. But he's supposed to be this horrible guy. They can't play with him. He's going to ruin the lot. How? When he's been like this for 17, 16 years. Narratives, man. I need to grow up in that way. I need to recognize when narratives have been placed upon myself. I'm going to work on that. Because it matters to me. Narratives be sending us in the wrong direction. I don't know if Kyle Kuzma's personality, but I watched him from afar as a Laker fan, and I can tell you this. He don't deserve that. Not from you. My name is BDL44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.